Well, after many filler episodes, Savitar finally comes back into the forefront, and the show finally gets back on track. Hey guys, remember The Flash, Season 3, Episode 15, The Wrath of Savitar, and I was really looking forward to this episode, just from the title in general. As you guys know, this has been a very mixed bag of a season for me. And the main reason is because, while I do think the Savitar conflict has been interesting, the show has not given it nearly the focus that it should have. I mean, even Zoom, who I feel really was not developed that great until the second half of last season, and even then he wasn't really developed all that great. Even Zoom had more development than Savitar at this point. We know pretty much nothing about Savitar. That is until this episode. This episode I really did like. I think the show finally seems to be getting back on track. It's actually some very interesting stuff going on this episode. Don't get me wrong, this wasn't a perfect episode. There was a lot of stupid shit going on as well, but I definitely did enjoy this one. This is certainly better than a lot of the episodes we've had this season, and I'd even say it was better than the Gorilla episodes. Like, I really was not a huge fan, as you know, of the Garage episodes, and this episode definitely did make up for it. But let's just get into it, let's talk about how awesome the beginning really was, because we get to see Flash, Kid Flash, and Jesse Quick all running through Central City together, which is awesome to watch. I mean, this is everything that we wanted to see before, and Cisco and Caitlin monitor them from Star Labs. HR takes all the credit for Kid Flash going faster, but Caitlin suggests that Kid Flash doesn't want to be beat by his girlfriend, so Kid Flash complains of dizziness. HR tells him that the course is designed to simulate his fighting Savitar, and Barry and Jesse then reach the final mark, and Kid Flash arrives. He knocks over Flash. Flash realizes that Kid Flash is fast enough to save Iris from Savitar, and they hug, so obviously we know that Barry has put a lot of trust in him to do that. But Kid Flash sees Savitar on the overpass, and when he looks back, Savitar is gone. So we don't know throughout this episode if Wally's actually seeing Savitar, or if that's just a figment of his imagination. We're not really sure at this point. But Julien arrives at Star Labs, says that Barry told me he had something to tell him. He and Caitlin will avoid touching because things are kind of awkward between these two right now. And Caitlin takes Julien to the Cortex. They explain that Jesse decided to stay there, and everyone wonders why Barry summoned them there. Because, you know, randomly he's asked them to come, and Barry and Iris arrive with coffee for everyone, and then announce that they are engaged. And Joe is obviously shocked. You know, he didn't tell anyone about this. This was not premature at all. He just kind of, you know, it wasn't premeditated. He just kind of did it out of spite. Also, of course, you know, he did it to protect Iris and everything, and to make sure that he could find a way to alter the timeline, and everyone else congratulates the couple. But after a moment, Joe finally comes over, hugs Iris, says she's growing into a beautiful woman, marrying the best man that he knows. And this is the main problem of the episode, is that while I do think that this conflict was interesting between Barry and Iris, it's very, very heavy-handed in this episode, and if it hadn't been for some really badass scenes with Savitar, it really would have ruined the episode. But Barry has Cisco to be his best man. Cisco accepts as long as he can bring Gypsy, and I really do love how him and Gypsy are a thing now, even though we don't really see her. I like that Cisco at least has some sort of a love interest. He has some sort of consistency in his life, and actually does go with what they've been building up with Cisco for a couple episodes now, that Cisco doesn't feel that he can actually get a steady girlfriend, and now it seems like he can, and I'm actually happy that the show is actually giving Cisco something interesting to do. So Joe talks to Barry out in the hall, assures him that he couldn't be happier. He wonders why Barry didn't ask his permission, and Barry says that he knew Joe would say yes, and he wanted to surprise him. So Cisco interrupts to say that there's a fire. Jesse's preoccupied with Iris's engagement ring, so it's just Barry and Wally. So they arrive at the building. Kid Flash is suddenly knocked down. He sees Savitar standing over him, smashes him into the wall. Flash turns, sees an invisible force attacking Kid Flash, and when he goes over, Savitar disappears. Kid Flash sees Flash where Savitar was standing, and from an action standpoint, this is one of the best the show has done in a very long time. I think the action here was definitely on point in this episode, and really did make up for the Grodd episodes. Well, I think the Grodd episodes, they had good action. They were either very, they were either filled with, with missed opportunities, or they were very underwhelming, or there just wasn't simply enough of them. And this episode gave us a lot of action. I was very happy with that. We don't get it. The Flash lately has not given us a lot of action-type episodes, and this one was like that, which I like seeing. So, back at Star Labs, Caitlin examines Wally. Wally explains he's been searching Savitar for a week, but thought that he was imagining things. He didn't actually know if Savitar was there, and Barry isn't happy that he's been keeping secrets. Wally says it was the first time that Savitar touched him. Caitlin offers to run a brain scan to see if Wally is affected like when Julien was possessed, and Barry says that Wally shouldn't be there. He explains that Savitar might be spying on them through Wally, and insists that he's out. So he's literally ready to kick Wally off the team, which stuff like this really did piss me off. I don't know why Barry was so upset about this. I mean, mean, obviously, Wally's not going to tell me because he didn't want to stress him out. He knows that he's already going through stress. So, in a way, Wally was kind of helping him out. Was it the best thing to do to withhold this from Barry? No, but I don't know why Barry got so pissed about it. And Wally storms out. Caitlin goes to talk to him. Barry figures that he needs to talk to Savitar again, but Julien refuses, and Caitlin says that they can't, but Cisco points out that they still have Savitar's spatial frequency, so it shouldn't be too hard to do that. So Julien refuses to help, walks out. Barry insists that everyone needs to trust him, which I felt like they did at this point. Why is everyone all of a sudden not trusting of Julien? I felt like they gained his trust in previous episodes, but whatever. Caitlin then finds Julien, who says that he's not going to volunteer to be abused again. She wonders if he doesn't want to do it because he doesn't want her to see him under Savitar's influence, and Julien agrees. Caitlin assures him that she can see the real him no matter who speaks through him. She takes his hand and he kisses her, and they hook Julien up to the device. Savitar tells him to bow before his greatness, and it definitely is weird to see Julien summon Savitar through his voice, but Barry says that Savitar is just a man like him, and Savitar gives Barry a lot of expositional dialogue here. However, this is expositional dialogue that we kind of want to hear about. He says that Barry is actually the villain in all this. He tells HR that he's a coward and survived a wrath, and explains that Barry trapped him in the future long enough to lose his mind, and Savitar dismisses Cisco as small when he could be a power, and Barry asks why they're enemies. The god of speed says that they had to be because only one of them could live, and Savitar says that they took everything from him. He's the only way he is because of them, and that's why he's become this way. So he tells them that they will be there when he becomes who he is. He created himself, and Barry points out he's still trapped because they got rid of the Philosopher's Stone. Savitar stands up, wonders if they really got rid of it, and says that they're bringing him closer to escape with every move they make. There's only one more thing he needs, and he looks at Iris and says that one of them has to die, and they can't change the future because he is the future. You know, they can't do anything about it. He's going to exist no matter what. So if they want to change the future, then Savitar will no longer exist. And Savitar tells Barry that he'll never get over the pain of losing Iris, and Barry then shuts down the device. And again, a lot of exposition going on in this scene, but it's necessary exposition that we want, and really does very well set up the major conflict that's going to be going on throughout the rest of the season. So afterward, Barry wonders if the stone they had is part of a larger piece, and Cisco suggests that they talk to the acolyte Craig, and his GPS has him near Mount Bucalado, and Flash speeds there, finds a group of acolytes praying to Savitar. He speeds forward, and Savitar has all these followers. I was surprised by how many he really has, but he really has recruited quite a few people, and he speeds forward, knocks them down. He takes the box that held the stone, and Craig says that Savitar is 10 steps ahead, and Barry should move up the wedding. So obviously, Craig knows what Barry's up to, and it's kind of creepy, but I don't know how Savitar got all these followers, but whatever. Back at Star Labs, the team tries to analyze the box without success. Julien figures it's the same box, and Cisco checks it for radioactive residue, just in case something might happen. And in the speed lab, HR monitors Wally as it speeds around the pipeline. Wally slows down. HR says that he's afraid, and he tells Wally that he can't run from a piece of fear. Wally wonders how the night went, and they go to Cisco, ask him to provide the future to see Iris' death and learn how Wally can actually stop him, because they want to know, if there's a way to do that. And Cisco warns that Wally won't be able to see it, but Wally insists, and Cisco then vibes with Wally, and they watch as Flash tells Savitar not to do it. Savitar kills Iris. Wally runs forward as Flash holds Iris' corpse in his arms, and Wally sees that the engagement ring on Iris' finger is gone, and that's the one major change that he realizes that Barry did this. Barry proposed to Iris because he wanted to change the future, which no shit. I mean, obviously it's why he did. But Cisco ends the vision. Wally says that it helped and leaves, and then we get what is by far the dumbest scene in this episode, where he goes to the Cortex, complains that Barry isn't telling him everything, and for some reason he's really pissed at Barry about this. I have no idea why. This is the smallest change, and he really should not be upset about it, but he explains what happened, tells Barry to tell Iris the reason he proposed to her, and Barry's basically forced to admit that the night that Savitar killed her, she didn't have a ring on her finger. He hoped that proposing to her might change the future, and she walks out, and she's very visibly upset. I don't know why she was so upset, honestly. There's no reason she should be upset. Just be happy the guy proposed to you, honestly. At least he proposed to you. At least you're married. It felt really unnecessary to be here. I don't exactly know why the scene was here. It was basically just here to create drama, and the whole them lying to each other, I'm over it. I'm really over this. Barry goes after her and says that his love for her has never changed. Iris tells him that she needs time to think, and she leaves, and I just don't care at this point. I don't care about all this animosity and all this, lack of trust that goes on between all these characters. Barry says in all these episodes, we gotta trust each other. We're not gonna do this again. And then you do the same fucking thing again, which doing the same thing over and over again is the definition of insanity. And honestly, a lot of these characters are pretty insane. So I really wouldn't be surprised, but this is like the main thing that really does piss me off about The Flash is that they say they're going to do something and they don't do it, and in this case, it really did not need this. I didn't really feel like this was necessary at all. I don't really know why we needed this twist at all. It didn't really add anything. It didn't heighten any drama, and all it really did was just add unnecessary petty drama that we really did not need. So, in the cortex, Julien approaches Caitlin, asks if she's okay. She says she's worried. Julien wonders that he's the one that Savitar predicted would betray them all. He's terrified that he's going to become Savitar, and Caitlin says that they know who it is. She shows Julien a small piece of the stone that she hid. They go to the others, and Caitlin explains she kept the piece in the hope that she could use it to cure herself of Killer Frost, and she admits it was all her, not Killer Frost's mental influence. So Barry figures that they need to hook Julien up to the machine, and Julien refuses. However, Barry points out that they have to end it for everyone's sake. HR refused to cooperate. Julien goes downstairs. Caitlin goes after him. She apologizes for not telling him that she kept the piece, but says she can't live the rest of her life waiting to use the mental battle against Killer Frost. She needs to do something about it, and Julien accuses her of only inviting him on the team to be her metahuman specialist and leaves. Now, this conflict I actually can understand, because yeah, in a sense, that is kind of why Caitlin and Julien have gotten so close, because they're going through a very similar circumstance, in that they have a villainous presence in them that they don't want. And yes, Caitlin did kind of get closer with Julien in the hopes that he would try to undo her alter ego, and that he would find a way to conjure the Killer Frost. That's something that she's wanted to do for a while. However, Julien and Caitlin are past this. It really didn't seem like this was something they need to fight about. It definitely makes a lot more sense than Iris getting mad about Barry for marrying her, but it still is kind of a dumb conflict that we didn't really need, and it wasn't as big as a deal as the other one, so I wasn't as upset about this one. But Joe goes to the loft to cheer Iris up. He tells her that Barry loves her and says that with the kind of lives that they have, love between them is the one thing that should stay simple. And no shit, Barry loves you. I mean, think of all the stuff that Barry's done for her. I mean, she's complaining that Barry did this stuff at Christmas, and I've really given Iris the benefit of the doubt the entire show I have. I've never really said that Iris is annoying, but honestly, I get why people rant on Iris. I really do get why people get upset with Iris at points, because this is just dumb. Why is she so mad at Barry for this? I don't understand. I mean, the guy at least proposed to you. Just be happy that he did that. Sure, he did it for a reason. Move the hell on, honestly. It just felt like such a dumb high school-esque conflict, and it didn't make any sense. But at Star Labs, the team hooks Julien back to the device. Savitar speaks through him. Barry promises he'll never get out of his prison, while Cisco scans for his location. And the Goddess Speed promises that Barry will beg for mercy and get none. They shove the device when they get a hit, but Cisco warns that the whole city registered as a hit, and he says he can pin it down but will have to use his powers, and Barry then leaves. So at the West House, Wally's unpacking. Jesse comes in. He says he wants to go back to Star Labs and train because he feels he has a lot more to do. And remember, he's terrified he's going to become like Savitar. So Jesse says they have to help each other rather than point fingers. And Wally admits the situation is messing with his head. And he explains that he got his powers from the stone, and he figures that Savitar has some kind of hold on him. So Jesse assures him that he can fight it, but Wally doesn't know if he'll really be fast enough to save Iris. And Jesse assures him that he won't be alone. And I like seeing Jesse in this episode. I like seeing these two together. She definitely did feel like a bit of an afterthought. Like, it didn't really seem like they had a specific thing for Jesse to do, but I definitely did like seeing her. I thought it was definitely well done. But then we get to a very interesting scene that really does show where Wally's going to go from here. So, Wally's mother, Francine, appears. Now, obviously, we know Francine's dead. She's not actually there, but she assures Wally that he's never alone. Only Wally can see her, and he hugs empty air as Jesse looks on. And meanwhile, Francine tells Wally that she's proud of what he's become. She then says that Wally has to stop because he's working so hard, and he doesn't see how dangerous it is. So she tells him that he's not fast enough, and he never will be. Wally realizes it's another one of Savitar's hallucinations. He's trying to break Wally. He's trying to get Wally to have regrets about what he's doing. and he's trying to lower his confidence. So he says that he has to do what he needs to escape his prison. He speeds off to get to the piece of the stone. Wally tells Jesse that he can stop Savitar by himself and speeds off, and these next few scenes, as much as I did complain about certain stuff that was going on here, you know, there's one last scene between Barry and Iris. The last, like, 15 or so minutes of this episode were completely worth it. I love the last 10 minutes of this episode, but Barry arrives at the loft in response to Iris' message. She tells him she's not angry at him and he wants to keep her safe. When Barry proposed to her, she thought he was asking out of love rather than fear. Now there will always be a part of the relationship that's tainted. Iris doesn't want to be someone that he's saving for eternity. Barry gets an idea. Just this whole thing is really dumb, but it really does pay off when we get to the ending here, where Cisco tells the others that all he can see is Savitar swinging through a storm-like area. Barry arrives. They realize that the Speed Force is what keeps pulling Savitar back. So when Barry threw the stone in the Speed Force, they gave Savitar what he needs to escape, but he still doesn't have the one piece. So Jesse speeds in, tells him what happened. They confirm that Wally took the piece, and Wally has turned off the suit's telemetry, so Kid Flash speeds to the lumber company, but he can't open a portal to the Speed Force. Savitar appears, says that Kid Flash isn't fast enough to throw the piece in the Speed Force. The Goddess Speed promises it will escape, kills everyone that Kid Flash loves, and he gave Kid Flash his speed. So Kid Flash says that that was Savitar's biggest mistake. He speeds around as fast as he can, opens the portal, throws the piece in, and it starts to pull him in. So yes, Wally is going into the Speed Force. I don't know how long he's going to be there, but Cisco detects the power surge, and Flash speeds there while Cisco brings up the security footage. The team watches as tendrils of energy pull Kid Flash in the portal. His uniform drops to the ground, smoking. Flash picks it up, and we don't know how long that he's going to be there, but Savitar claws way of the portal. He screams in triumph, and Savitar's actually won here, which I love the way this ended, declaring that he's finally beaten Flash. He explains that Wally is taking his place in the Speed Force, and then when Flash created Flashpoint, he gave Savitar the idea to make Wally fast enough to replace him in the Speed Force. That's basically the idea he had. That's why he's had all these visions of Kid Flash and things like that. So again, we actually do have sort of a change to Flashpoint, which I do like the reference there. And the Goddess Speed says that Wally's suffering for all eternity. Flash lunges at Savitar. Savitar knocks him away, says that if Flash has the strength to end his life, he would have done it in the future. He knows that Flash can't kill, and he attacks him. And sure, that's the one thing that Barry says he'll never do. He'll never kill. So he promises to destroy Central City like he did in the future, and once he does, Flash will treat him as a god, because he's not. And Flash manages to land a punch. He then grabs Savitar's neck, demands that he shows his face, and Savitar impales him in the shoulder. Rather than doing what Barry says, Savitar actually gets his way with him. He impales him in the shoulder with his hand, says that he will kill Flash after he sees that Iris die. So Flash vibrates his hand, cuts through Savitar's hand. Savitar speeds off, and he is going to do what he can to make sure that this future comes true. Like, Savitar will do everything in his power to make sure that that future where Iris dies actually does happen. And the team then gets Flash back to Star Labs, pull the shard outs, and this last scene was kind of weird, just the way this episode ends. Barry wakes up, sees Joe holding Wally's costume. Cisco says he might be able to do something with the shard. Joe tells Barry that what happened isn't his fault. Jesse runs out sobbing, HR goes after her, and Cisco remembers Savitar's prophecy that one of them would suffer a worse fate than death. So obviously they still are thinking about that, which I'm going to talk about that at the end of this. I definitely think I know what's going on there, but in the hallway, HR tells Jesse that he isn't her dad and doesn't know what the right words are, and she hugs him. Just a really nice, comforting scene between the two. That reminds me that Jesse's still there, and I definitely like seeing that. But Joe says he can't lose Wally, walks out. Irison takes Barry's hand. He realizes that she isn't wearing the engagement ring, which, okay, whatever. I mean, he proposed to you, and now you want nothing to do with it. Whatever. I mean, it was dumb. But she leaves. Cisco and Julien go as well. Caitlin apologized for keeping the peace, saying that she was afraid. Barry tells her that his fear is the reason for everything, realizing that a lot of this is his fault, and he's being held accountable for a lot of what's going on. And that is the way this episode ends. Let's just get in this episode and where I think we're going to go from here. So, overall, guys, even though this episode definitely did have a few petty conflicts I thought were very unnecessary and really just added drama to the story that we really didn't need, this was overall a very satisfying episode. I really did love a lot of where we're going here, especially when it comes down to Savitar. I love this character. The actor who's playing him is so badass. He's so good in the role. And not only is Savitar, I think, a really great villain on the show, he has a really strong motivation. His motivation is not just, oh, I want to, destroy, I want to become faster than the Flash. That's not what he wants to do. What he wants to do is basically be the god. He wants to be the leader of everything. He wants everyone to treat him like a god, and he wants to be in control, and he doesn't want the Flash to have that control. He wants to take away everything that matters to the Flash, and honestly, it's a very strong motivation. Whoever's doing Savitar is doing an incredible job. I loved all the stuff we got with him, and there's a lot of stuff that Savitar said that I do find quite interesting, particularly what he said about only one of them being able to live. Basically, if Iris lives, then Savitar has to die, which that's pretty inevitable. That definitely does make a lot of sense. However, remember how Savitar said that he was betrayed and that he's not being taken as he should be and that he's more powerful than the Flash and things like that? Well, who's also more powerful than the Flash? Well, that would be Wally, obviously. Wally, we've seen, is much more faster. He is ostensibly stronger. He's, knows what he didn't need as much training and things like that. He's the one that's being tasked to save Iris, but what if Wally actually ends up being Savitar? And I know it's a bit of a stretch, but it honestly does make a lot of sense. Why else would Savitar throw him into the Speed Force? Why else would he want Wally to replace him? That would have to be because he wants Wally to become Savitar, and Savitar is the embodiment, I think, of Wally, which, again, does really make a lot of sense, because as he said in the Flashpoint, Barry made it so Wally turned into, that version of Savitar, which I think Wally is probably going to be Savitar. It makes a lot of sense. That's why Wally's probably pulled into the thing, and I think that's really what's going on here. The whole Wally being betrayed thing, it's always been to get to Savitar, and if that's really where we're going, it's going to give me more of a reason to like Wally. Still don't like the actor. I don't think Keenan Lonsdale's that great of an actor. But I don't think he's the one doing Savitar, so I think we're okay. Yeah, as long as he's not the one doing Savitar, which if he is, holy shit, I've been really wrong about him. But I do think that he is the one behind the Savitar mask, and the fact that Savitar doesn't want to reveal himself to Barry, I find quite interesting. I think the reason is because he wants Barry to suffer more. He wants him to realize who it is at the worst possible time, and he wants to make sure that Iris does die, which is very interesting to think about. And Cisco also brings up that point that someone is going to suffer a worse fate than that of death. And if it's not going to be Wally, I think it's going to be Caitlin. I think Caitlin's going to be forced by Savitar to do something involve Killer Frost. I could definitely see that happening, so I think definitely something's going to happen there. The whole thing going on, though, between Iris and Barry is really dumb. I don't know why Wally had to bring that up. I don't know why Wally got so pissed about it. I get that, obviously, Barry, shunned him aside, and he was kind of upset about it and did it out of pure hatred and didn't really think about it, but come on, I mean, this really was not that big of a deal. Sure, he might have done it out of fear. I understand where the show was trying to go with that, but I really found that part to be very unnecessary, and I'm not looking forward to these two having drama. I've said it before, the one thing that CW does not know how to do with any couple on a show, except for maybe Jane the Virgin and Crazy Ex-Girlfriends and things like that, is that they don't know how to keep a couple together and just let them be a couple. Rarely do I see a show where they actually do that. Like I said, there are rare exceptions where that happens, but rarely do I see, particularly a DC show, where they actually let a couple be happy. And Iris and Barry, they were happy, but now Barry had to do this, and obviously now they're not happy, and I'm really not looking forward to seeing these two fight. I've said it before, the worst part of the show is when Barry and Iris are fighting. It takes a lot out of that relationship. Those two have really good chemistry. I've always thought they have good chemistry, but fighting-wise, I never get into it. I always find it boring, and I think I'm not looking forward to seeing those two have this animosity between each other. So I'm not looking forward to seeing Barry and Iris, have this sort of awkward stuff going on here. I'm just not into that at all. But the conflict between Caitlin and Julien, that I do understand. Because in a way, Caitlin is using Julien. At first, I think it kind of was her using him. So that way she could find a way to get rid of Killer Frost. But now it really feels like he is being used. And I get what's going on there. So I think that storyline is very interesting. I really do like where that's going. And I don't know if Julien's going to survive this season, because here's the thing. They treat him like he's a main character, but he's not listed as a main character. So that's what baffles me here, is that why is Julien not listed as a main character? that's definitely a factor into what's going to end up happening towards the end of the season. So definitely, I think if he doesn't die, he's going to be the one that suffers a fate worse than death, because something bad is definitely going to happen to Julien, and we'll have to see what that's going to be, because like I said, Tom Felton's not a main character. They would have made him one by now if they wanted him to stick on the show. It's really that simple. My other complaint with this episode is Jessie. While I love Jessie and I think the actress is great, honestly, I think she's one of the best actresses on the show, and I think she has great chemistry with Kenan Lonsdale, even though Kenan Lonsdale has about as much charisma as a slice of bread. I think that she does I think that she definitely did do a good job, in this episode. I just didn't really feel they gave her enough to do. Like, you had the opportunity to use Jessie Quick, and they didn't really utilize her as well as I think they could have. I think they definitely could have done some more with her in this episode in terms of the action, which the action was definitely on point in this episode. Definitely one of the best episodes in terms of action. A lot of the stuff between Savitar and Flash was really cool. I really did love that, but I just want to see a little bit more Jessie Quick in there. I get it that, she didn't want to outrun Kid Flash, but I just want to see a little bit more going on there. Overall, guys, was definitely one of the better episodes of the season. Besides that one ridiculous thing going on between Barry and Iris, I definitely did enjoy this episode overall. It definitely does give me a sense that the show is going to get back on track. Next week's episode looks incredible. I can't wait to go inside the Speed Force and see all the stuff that happens there, with the past and things like that. It's like a what-if scenario, kind of like what's going on with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and the Framework. That's kind of what's going to happen next week, so we'll have to see what happens with that. But overall, guys, I really did enjoy this episode overall. And I am going to give The Flash Season 3, Episode 15, The Wrath of Savitar, a 3.5 out of 5 or a B. So overall, guys, for me, this episode of The Flash. I know you guys saw this episode overall, loved your thoughts on it. I actually really did enjoy this episode. Get away that one ridiculous Barry and Iris thing. That's really what weighed the episode down for me. If that was there, I would have easily given this episode a B+, but, that had to be there, and it kind of did ruin the episode. It added this drama that we just didn't need, and I feel like we had enough interesting stuff going on. But that's my review. Hope you guys enjoy it. We'll see you guys in my next video, which will be for the season premiere of The Americans, which I am so ready for. I can't wait to finally review that to you guys, and we'll see you guys for that. Okay, bye.